Welcome to the HackerNoon podcast. I'm your host, Natasha Nell. Hashtag Activism had a bit of a moment today. Blackout Tuesday, the 2nd of June, 2020, where, long story short, as a result of the initiative of two women in the music industry, everybody started posting black squares on social media. The official hashtags for this campaign were supposed to be "the show must be paused" and or "Blackout Tuesday," but of course a lot of people used "Black Lives Matter" instead, resulting in feeds that used to be filled with information, donation options, news, and bail links for arrested protesters being quite literally blacked out. I just think this is a really interesting moment. And we've been having a few tense moments in our house, I guess, as a result of how much time I spend on Instagram. And when I say we, I mean myself and my partner, whose name I still can't pronounce.
Well, first of all, it's great to hear that I'm your partner. It sounds so adult.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, boyfriend sounds weird. Isn't boyfriend weird?
Yeah, maybe that's a bit weird.
It's a bit weird
Yeah.
at our age, I feel.
Yeah, no, I'm quite old.
Yeah, I think partner's the next best, but it also feels strange for me.
So I'm Koen. That's how you pronounce my name, Koen uit Mannetje. And I'm a psychologist and Natasha's partner.
That's right.
And I'm very Dutch. And I think it's also good to know, because Natasha's talking about Instagram, that I'm quite unknown to that social platform. Actually, I'm very much from the Facebook generation. So, yeah, I don't, besides spying on my partner, I don't know much about Instagram, actually.
Back to the topic at hand. We're talking about Instagram and talking about how, I guess, what happens when a bunch of really well-meaning people who are sitting at home, not in the States, a lot of them, want to show solidarity with what's happening there and end up kind of screwing things up for, protesters in real life who are on the front lines and need access to information. So I guess the question is, what is happening for those of us who are at home and who are caught in maybe this news cycle addiction? What is kind of the psychology of that, and how does this little example show how many people are being affected by this, even though they're probably not there, and what's kind of happening to our brains right now when things like this go down?
Okay, that's a lot of questions.
Well, I mean, it doesn't also have to be in your professional capacity, just also in your personal capacity, probably from watching me.
Okay, well, that takes some pressure off.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think when you say how many people are affected by this, I think a lot of people now use social media to connect to each other. But now maybe it's also people really, meet online and also maybe show themselves more online. And also, I feel when it comes to, for example, this specific topic, I think it's also a way for people to feel that they belong somewhere, belong to a community, something that they've been missing. I can also speak from what I've seen in you lately, is that you have, this topic has really gotten to you and made you very active, but also activistic. And very, you're feisty as a person, but now in this combination of your personality and this topic, brings out a huge amount of energy that can actually scare me sometimes. Mm. So, yeah. Hence that's not for the audience, but hence the tension at one point I think we had before. But yeah, what is the question again? I feel I'm like... Yeah,
I think you've gone a good way into starting to answer that. First of all, to go back, you were talking about how we show more of ourselves online now, and I think that's so true. Yeah. If I think about how much more comfortable I am being a lot more intimate online, like I roll up to Zoom yoga in my pajamas, and I have a lot less sort of inhibition, because the only connection we could have for so long was online. So I think it's cool to think about it that way, that we show more of ourselves now. But also, yes, it has been this sort of, I guess, boiling pot where I'm at home, my access to information is this, it becomes this kind of cycle of addiction, and these things do fester. And so, for example, to share a personal anecdote, this morning when I saw the squares being posted, I reposted it myself without too much research, without enough research, it was only, I luckily didn't use the Black Lives Matter hashtag and therefore didn't contribute to clogging the feed personally, but I easily could have, because I didn't look it up before I joined that online movement of, a bunch of my followers and the people I follow. I just kind of followed the lead without thinking about it too much and being too critical of it, because I've been very swept up by this whole thing. So that is interesting. That's,
This is a confession you're making now.
a little bit, yeah. I guess it is.
A biecht, we call it.
Yeah, I'm not proud. I should have done more research. I'm lucky I didn't post it on HackerNoon's account with some kind of comment that wasn't at all backed up or thought through.
Yeah. Which
happens so easily and all the time nowadays. But yeah, I guess it's just interesting to me what is happening to those of us who are at home, and what we fall into all these different personalities. You tend to have a very different response to these things. You and I attended the Solidarity March here in Amsterdam yesterday, and I don't know how that affected you being there in real life, because you haven't been engaging with it every day. You don't have Instagram, you're not on Twitter, and you're not feeding your brain with all of this all day, but you saw yesterday in real life. So how does that impact, by contrast, how you feel about it and what you think about what's happening now?
Well, I mean, it was quite impressive. Like, I expected less people to be there. It was packed. I bought a newspaper this morning as a result. I haven't done it in a long time, because I like actual newspapers more than digital, because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
There was a lot of controversy about this protest also because of the social distancing that should be still happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the mayor actually allowing the protest to go through, even though people were packed on top of each other.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, she's a very left Green Party mayor.
What is her name? I should know this.
Femke Halsema.
The mayor of Amsterdam.
Yes,
Femke
the
Halsema.
mayor of Amsterdam. And she's rad. I like her a lot.
She sounds really rad.
But she's now under a lot of fire because of not stepping in on this.
And she wasn't wearing a mask, right?
She wasn't wearing a mask either, no. And there's a picture of her walking actually like proud through the masses. It made an impression on me. I think maybe different than for you, but I think what it did for me was like maybe care a bit more about the subject. I think I did read up about it, but wasn't as sort of immediately involved on the matter as you were. I think another thing that as a result for me came from it was also thinking about, okay, do I look away easily? Do I not really want to get involved too much? Taking like a sort of a easy step sideways. It's also a bit of a Dutch way of dealing with things. It's just like, thinking from a very like distant place, and try to see everything, and then a bit like, okay, but there's nuances to it, and that's also a way of sort of protecting from maybe emotions that come with it. If you get too involved, it can make you very angry and powerless, and people don't want to feel like that.
Well, you've hit on something there. It's the powerlessness, right? I mean, that's what gets us all to repost things online, for example, is like feeling like we're doing something.
Yeah.
For me, at least, I know that's part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really interesting to hear. And I think you're right about the differences in our cultural approaches. I mean, obviously, I'm South African. I come from a very young democracy that, has a lot of its own very complex race issues still. Whereas maybe in the Netherlands, it's not such a forefront topic.
No, well, it is though. Like more and more now, of course, we were huge colonizers in the past, and we've also been basically talking that right over time. Talking right is not really proper English,
right.
but
You're
I'm
a
trying.
language speaker,
and it's So now there's more and more also organizations, like for example the one that organized this protest is called Kick Out Zwarte Piet.
Oh, of course.
For that, I would have to explain what Zwarte Piet is, but that's quite complicated.
And if we go quite quickly through it, it's worth people knowing what Zwarte Piet is. Here in the Netherlands, it relates to Father Christmas or Santa Claus in the States. Maybe you can give just a quick little summary of how your Christmas story works here.
Well, we celebrate Sinterklaas, and it's on the 5th of December. Basically Saint Nicholas. He was a saint for the children. And somehow, like over time, the way it was celebrated is like St. Nicholas comes to bring gifts to the children, but he comes with helpers, and his helpers are Zwarte Pieten, which basically translates to Black Pete's. And they are basically dressed in clothes that refer to like colonialist times. And Sinterklaas, when he comes in, he marches in on like a big horse, and Zwarte Pieten walk and do all the chores basically. Mm-hmm. So the racist reference is very clear, mm-hmm. and that's last couple of years it really has brought sort of a divide in the Netherlands. People want to keep that sort of Dutch culture and think it's innocent, and people say, yeah, no, this is really racist. We should, and it's offensive to people. We need to remove. We need to change it.
And has there been any progress in getting it changed?
There has been, yeah. Like now, for example, they introduced something that's called Rainbow Pete's. So instead of, because the thing is like Black Pete's are basically white people
in blackface.
In blackface, mm-hmm. And now they changed it to people dressing up in different kind of outfits, not like the golden earrings and things that refer to colonialism, but black faces, like just colored faces, like in different colors, like yellow, orange, whatever. So yeah, it's like so it did have an impact. Like they did have some kind of there is a bit of a movement on that.
I'd be interested to see what happens this year in the context of.
Yeah, after this, it might really
have an impact.
Yeah, escalate. I mean, there's also been some incidents already with like where there's protests of Zwarte Piet pro and
yes, I actually read about that last year. I remember.
So these are very small, skilled Dutch little
own version of the struggle.
Yeah, but yeah,
just goes to show everywhere needs to be addressed. Everywhere we need to be having these conversations, which is another vote for social media activism.
Yeah, you want to get it's good to you bridge back to social media activism because that's what we spoke about.
Indeed.
And I had a thought about it just now, and I want to get it back.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to also know like why do I get so involved in it? Like why is it?
Me personally, why do I have such a strong response? Yeah.
Yeah, but you also feel like you also had a question about why do you keep reading so much about it? Why do you like it's almost like an addictive pattern?
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's, well, especially if you combine it with like posting. We said before, like you feel like you belong to something, like something mm-hmm. important, and you try to make a difference. But I think also posting things and getting responses on it. I mean, from that we know it has an addictive cycle. I mean, people just every time that somebody clicks or like posts, it's like a little dopamine shot.
It's something I've had to monitor in myself quite a lot. Maybe that's another positive, is that movements like this will bring us back for more information that is more constructive than, consumerist, maybe.
For sure. I did have that's the thing I wanted to say, though. Sorry.
So you come back.
It's like, because I felt, but this is just like, I'm just thinking out loud,
right?
Yeah,
go for it.
But maybe what's also involved is like, okay, we live in social isolation for a long time. We know that has an impact on people's emotional state.
Of course.
You get a lot more feelings like loneliness, like depression. And I think getting involved in something like this, also listening to a lot of people talk, it also brings up different emotions. Like you, for example, feel now much more anger, which for some people, I'm not one of them, but you are one of them, is a more welcomed emotion than sadness, or than loneliness, or
for sure.
So people also can do like these kind of things, like especially when it comes to a little bit obsessive, just to feel something different than the state that they're in, or the
right. I'm trying to shift my
possibly
state.
It's a theory. That's very much an addiction psychologist approach.
It is very much an addiction psychologist and a very individualistic view on it. But it is good to monitor these things in our own patterns and daily routines, and remember to take deep breaths and take screen time seriously, and make sure that we're not flooding ourselves. Because yes, as you're pointing out, I spend more time these days feeling very angry than I did a couple of months back. So it's something to just be aware of, that does take a toll.
And I think on that, like, we know that I'm the opposite when it comes to anger. Like,
which is very great.
Fear anger. I'm like, I want to avoid it.
Yeah.
So they could also explain why when it comes to this matter. I'm like, no,
Avoidant.
I'm just going to avoid it a little bit because it might evoke a lot of anger, and that's not an emotion that I like.
But then what is it like for you to be an avoidant personality at a time like this where you've got an activist living in your house who's shouting at you every day from the armchair going, we need to do more, we need to be more?
It can be stressful.
I can imagine.
Yeah, no, I've had moments now, like especially after we had like a fight about it, that I feel when I feel that you get like worked up about the topic, that I just feel stressed, and now I feel caught between but actually I just want to move away from it.
Yeah.
But also like I feel if I move away from it, I might piss you off more because then you feel I don't care.
Exactly.
So yeah, and so like and also a nuanced vision, which would be my automatic response would be like, well, let's water it down a bit what you bring. Let's bring some other things in it. Might also tick you off, feeling like, no, this is not the...
Yeah, I don't need nuance right now.
I don't need nuance, like, we need to, like, act.
Yeah.
So it is not that easy.
Yeah.
No, to be honest.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah. So maybe a tip, like, maybe we should sort of close off with...
end on a tip. I like that.
I thought of a tip. I think a tip is like, and this can also be the tip for you then, is to... not only or maybe less so follow the daily news and the updates and like you get reports about like new violence, new looting. It's basically a cycle, and it's not very interesting. It just pisses you off more and makes you feel more powerless. And instead of that, maybe move more. If you want to read about the topic, read more about the history of it. Maybe read books about it. Maybe read like longer articles, like opinion articles.
That is a really great idea.
And it's basically, I think it's a tip that I took before from my like wise old father. That I had a bit of a newspaper addiction. At one point he said, like, stop reading newspapers. News is vluchtig. So news is like flighty. Read books, because like that actually just broadens your view more, and you get like more interesting ideas about the world than if you just read every day.
Exactly, news cycle type content, especially today.
Yeah.
Expanding that metaphor to Twitter and Instagram. Absolutely. I realized, 3 minutes into a compilation of cops sparking violence today that I was not actually serving my brain or anybody by continuing to consume these short clips and viral videos. So I really like that. So thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll end it there. Thank you for listening. I'm Natasha from HackerNoon. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Back to the internet.